listening to Paranormal TV Network, and you're tuned in to Haunted Moments, and I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Theresa F. Koch. The Winchester House. The Winchester Mystery House is an extravagant maze of Victorian craftsmanship, marvelous, baffling, and eerily eccentric, to say the least. Tour guides warn people not to stray from the group, or they could be lost for hours within this house. Countless questions come to mind as wandering through this mansion, such as, what was Mrs. Winchester thinking when she had a staircase built that descended 7 steps and then rises 11? Sarah Winchester was fascinated by the number 13, and you'll find many places in the Winchester Mystery House where it's used, including a 12-light chandelier that had 1 extra bulb added. Winchester designed this piece herself. With 13 jewels in the design, it sits in storage, never installed in the Winchester house to this day. Some of the architectural oddities may have practical explanations, though. For example, the switchback staircase, which has 7 flights with 44 steps, rises only about 9 feet. Since each step is just 2 inches high, Mrs. Winchester had arthritis quite severely in her latter years, and the staircase may have been designed to accommodate her disability. The miles of twisting hallways are made even more intriguing by secret passages in the walls. Mrs. Winchester traveled through her house in a roundabout fashion, supposedly to confuse any mischievous ghosts that might be following her around. This wild and fanciful description of Mrs. Winchester's nightly prowl to the seance room appeared in the American Weekly in 1928, 6 years after her death. Mrs. Winchester set out for her seance room. It might well have discouraged the ghost of the Indian or even a bloodhound to follow her. After traversing an labyrinth of rooms and hallways, suddenly she would push a button and panel would fly back, and there she would be, stepping quickly from one apartment to another. And unless the pursuing ghost was watchful and quick, he would lose her. Then she opened a window in that apartment and climbed out, not into the open air, but on top of a flight of stairs that took her down 1 story, only to meet another flight that brought her right back up to the same level again, all inside the house. This was supposed to be very discomforting, she said, to evil spirits, who are said to be naturally suspicious of traps. The house was built for spirits, it is said. We may never know for sure if Mrs. Winchester built her house to accommodate the spirits, but over the years the story has come down that she believed her life was unavoidably affected by departed souls. Presumably she wanted to be friendly with the good spirits and avoid the bad ones. And the way to be friendly with the good spirits, it seems, to her was to build them a nice place to visit. According to this theory, Mrs. Winchester accommodated the friendly spirits by giving them special attention. For example, it is said that there were only 3 mirrors in the entire house at the time of Mrs. Winchester's death. Legend has it that spirits hate mirrors, since the sight of their reflection causes them to vanish. That is why Mrs. Winchester's servants and secretary reportedly used only hand mirrors or went without a mirror at all. The mansion also contained a profusion of light sources, from gas jets and countless candles to electric light bulbs. Supposedly, the spirits feel humiliated by shadows, since they cannot cast their own. According to legend, Mrs. Winchester enacted a nightly seance to help with her building plans, and for protection from the bad spirits, Mrs. Winchester slept in a different bedroom also every night, supposedly in order to confuse the evil spirits. Some say that she also held special dinner parties for her spirit friends. Legend has it that she would serve her phantom guests in gold plates, offering them dishes like caviar and truffles and pheasant stuffed with pâté. Over the years, many people have occupied the massive home, whether the caretakers or students of psychic phenomena. Brett Miller and his wife were caretakers of the mansion from 1973 to 1981, and he reported several odd incidents, like hearing someone breathe in an empty room and hearing footsteps in the bedroom where Mrs. Winchester died. One night he was awakened by the sound of a screw being unscrewed, then hitting the floor and bouncing onto the carpet runner. He jumped out of bed and explored the house but found nothing. In an incident, a friend of Miller's came over one New Year's Eve and took pictures of the house with a brand new camera. When the film was developed, there was a picture of moving lights and ghostly figures of a man in coveralls. Only one negative produced this image, and the rest of the film was normal. Paranormal investigators in the Winchester house, and some people have temporarily lost their eyesight or felt icy chills in spots where there were no drafts, and seen locked doorknobs turn by themselves. Researchers of the paranormal have spent the night in the house employing their special skills to investigate these claims and dispel any wild rumors. You have tuned into Paranormal TV Network and you are listening to Haunted Moments, and I am your host, Reverend Dr. Theresa F. Koch.